Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Business Management 2022 Release Recap webinar. My name is Renee Bergstresser, and I'm a software training consultant with our education team here at ConnectWise. I'm joined today by
Mitchell Rollo, also a software training consultant here at ConnectWise.
We're really excited to go through really just some of the biggest enhancements that have come out in this product pillar for the past year. Get you all ready for IT Nation and the new announcements there, but also make sure that you can take advantage of all the changes that have already come out this year. So we're not going to constrain ourselves to just the manage and sell enhancements because, as you probably know, we really increased this product portfolio over the past year. So we have other business management updates to share with you as well. And then we couldn't resist including some education material updates as well, because we've done a lot of work on our side in the university to help support you using all these products. So kind of without further ado, we'll start off with the manage release updates.
All right, and I'm excited to dive into some of the latest and greatest features we rolled out for ConnectWise Manage. The first of which is going to be around Calendar Sync, and we've actually made quite a few changes to Calendar Sync over the last year. First and foremost, I'm probably sure many of you are excited about, are several different performance enhancements, making it run faster, quicker, more reliable across the board. So if you haven't used Calendar Sync in a while, definitely worth checking out again. Because in addition to that, we've also now added instant bidirectional sync between Manage and Outlook. What does that mean? Well, that means if you make any changes in Manage, you'll see those changes reflected in Outlook instantly, but that's always been the case. But now, in addition to that, if you make changes in Outlook, you'll see those changes instantly in Manage as well. No more waiting around for a sync time or heading over to the My Activities screen to do a manual sync. All those changes you make to your calendar in Outlook will be reflected in Manage. So now you and your team can rest easy knowing your calendars are always in sync. We've also added the ability to configure Calendar Sync from individual member screens. This is especially useful if you're in charge of onboarding new users at your company. When you're setting them up for the first time, you want to make sure that they can take advantage of Calendar Sync. You don't want to be jumping around from screen to screen trying to get everything set up for them. You can now take care of more directly from that calendar, or that member screen, I should say. And lastly, we've added the ability for you to toggle exactly how the sync works for a member by member basis. So if for whatever reason you need to scale back some of that syncing, you don't want it to go both ways, only managed Outlook or vice versa, or disabled entirely, that's fine. We can do that from the member screen itself in this Microsoft 365 pod. Another new addition we've made is to agreement additions, specifically for if you are bundling your agreements together and taking advantage of invoice grouping to control how they display on an invoice. We've now added the ability to extend that grouping to those bundled agreement additions. Another feature we rolled out is with our relatively new billing reconciliation feature. For those of you that are not familiar, billing reconciliation allows you to sync vendor product details directly to your agreements, keeping them up to date from month to month as those counts and products change. It can be done with an Excel file, but we've enhanced this a step further. Specifically for our Fortify suite of products, we can actually import that data directly into your instance of Manage and your agreements using this Import ConnectWise Data button. From here, you can use marketplace data, recover data, and now Fortify. We have also made a couple other updates that do relate back to Calendar Sync a little bit, specifically your Outlook calendar, and that has to do with how that intersects with tickets. For those of you out there, if any of you are scheduling meetings from tickets themselves, you may be familiar with those meeting invites being sent out from you, the meeting scheduler. Well, now we've actually adjusted that so that it uses your email connector instead. This is extremely useful as it allows ConnectWise to capture any replies if people have questions on the meeting invite. Those questions don't get logged in the ticket. Now it's kind of we no longer have that single source of truth of that full conversation. Things get lost. However, now that we are leveraging the email connector for these calendar invites, all that communication gets logged on the ticket itself. We've additionally allowed you to actually sync those meetings from Outlook directly to tickets. What do I mean by that? If you are scheduling a meeting in Outlook, if you include the ticket number, in that subject line for that meeting you're scheduling, we'll actually populate that meeting on the ticket. I'll show you what this looks like on a Outlook meeting invite. So here I'm scheduling a meeting for ticket 12345, and I've entered that in the subject line for that meeting. And now this will appear on my managed ticket as well. We keep all that information grouped together, easy to see. One of the biggest features that we've added is the round robin functionality. Now, this is something I've heard partners ask me about all over the world. No matter where I travel, where I'm talking, this comes up all the time. Partners want to be able to assign tickets out to their team randomly, essentially. They want to make sure that tickets are just being assigned out to different individuals throughout the day. Well, we can now do this with round robin. This allows us to assign tickets out to a specific team in a rotating order automatically, no manual dispatching required. To set this up, first we'll want to head to the Auto Assign tab, and under this Resources to Assign section, we'd want to select Round Robin. This tells Manage to start assigning these tickets as they come in that round robin manner. But there's a little bit more we have to do. Next, we need to specify which service team we're going to be assigning to. So in this case, I have my generic service team here, and I've selected Round Robin. Now, all the members of this team will be rotated through one at a time as new tickets come in. And then the last piece we need to set up a status to handle any scenarios where, for whatever reason, I might not be able to assign a ticket. So if none of my team members are available, maybe they're all flagged as out of office on the in and out board, well, I'm gonna go ahead and flag all those new tickets coming in to this unassigned status, which I've designated with this checkbox. That way, someone can step in and manually assign these and they don't get lost. Now, if this is something you would like to take advantage of and you're not seeing these fields in your instance of Manage today, you'll need to enable Round Robin in the Manage Labs setup table. Once that is done, you can head into the Service Board setup table, which is what I just showed off right now, to set up these fields for your own Round Robin dispatching. And the last big thing I want to talk about related to Manage is the customer portal. We've rolled out a whole slew of new updates. You can now extend more branding on your portal, specifically in that left-hand navigation. We've doubled the portal limit from 5 to 10, so you can create more customer portals. And we've made sweeping updates to the service catalog. You can break down your different services into service categories, better categorizing the services that you offer. We've increased the character limit on many different fields related to your service catalog. We have enabled the ability to sort values for drop downs and radio buttons, so you can display information in the order that it makes most sense for you and your customers. And finally, some managed fields can now be displayed in the customer portal to your customers, and you have the option to make those editable if you want, specifically the type, subtype, item, and priority. These can be shown to your customers if you want, and you can allow those customers to edit them themselves. It's entirely up to you. Now let's take a look at a couple of these. First, here are those managed fields that I mentioned. Here I am setting up a new service category or new service for my portal, and I can see some toggles down at the bottom allowing me to display these to my customers. In this case, I've displayed the type to my customers so they can see that when they are logging tickets through the portal. Next up, here are those service categories that I mentioned. You can see a long list of services that I've created for my portal. These services represent the different questions and issues my customers might have, and I've broken them out into 3 different categories. I can use that Create Category button to create a new one. For example, I see magical issues, sales, and service. I may want to add a finance category. That way, if my customers have billing questions, I can make sure that those services, those questions are grouped together so they're easy to find. And last big one is going to be that logo. Here we can see the portal menu image logo, and then you can use preview to see what all these logos look like. But let's take a look at what this will look like in action. Here I'm logged in as a customer. I'm reviewing an invoice on the portal that you've created for me, and I can see that logo in the top left, letting me know I'm in the right place, seeing a logo I recognize.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mitch. Now, just as a reminder, if you all have any questions about these specific enhancements or want ideas for business cases to use them, please go ahead and use that questions pod, and we'd be happy to answer your questions as they come through. On to Sell. This has been a really big year for Sell, and I'm very excited about a lot of these enhancements. But the first one that I would like to cover is actually a couple, and it's performance improvements, because this has been massive. With electronic orders and also the order porter, we've seen some performance and publishing speed updates, which are really exciting. But then getting into Utilize, this has been a really exciting one, because particularly exciting, I should say, because we have a new option for you to try out the new Utilize search. So if you're going to get into your settings, it'll be under Content Integrations Utilize options. You can trial this new Utilize search. Now this search does two very nice things for you as you're working through Utilize. For one, if you've been an Utilize user for a while, one of the common concerns that we'll hear is that there's just so much information coming through and not all of it you can use. There may be a lot of products that show up that don't have availability, they don't have product in stock from different vendors. Well, this improved Utilize search actually prioritizes products that have availability and pricing from these vendors. So you'll start to see a screen, or start to see screens or results more like this, where you have more green boxes, more options for you to choose between. And the other piece is that if you're an Utilize user once again, and you've gone through and you've added products to your quote, there can be parts of that process that are pretty click intensive. Maybe you're drilling into the product, reviewing it, adding it to the quote, and then you have to go back to your search. You might lose your place in your search. Well, what's also very exciting about this is that, as you can see, I've highlighted one of these green boxes here, and that's because you can now locate the product that you want, click on that green box, and add it from that vendor with that availability to your quote without leaving the screen. You can continue your search, you can select more options. It's a really nice quick add feature that I think will make Utilize much more user-friendly. So very interested to try that one out, and I would definitely recommend trying it. And just, it is a preview option now, so the team is going to continue enhancing this, making it even better based on feedback. Now the next performance improvement I want to chat about, it actually refers to the preview option that you can see in the top right here. And this is a quote display setting that's been added to Sell. You essentially turn on this setting if you want to improve your performance within Sell, because what would happen originally is anytime you made a change to quote details in Sell, maybe you're just editing a line item, it would force a refresh of the PDF document previewer, which would slow down the performance in Sell based on your experience. Well, this option's been added in if you don't want Sell to automatically refresh with every single change. You can still complete a manual refresh whenever you need to, but by turning this off, by disabling it, selecting the checkbox, you can improve your performance throughout Sell. And that is actually going to be within quote preparation, quote setup. So if you want to disable this now, navigate there in your settings. So I mentioned Utilize, and we love Utilize because of the ability to use real-time pricing, and now it's getting even better. But we also have another distributor that we can work with, which is Arrow. So Arrow is now available as one of your options within real-time pricing. You would just go into your content integrations for real-time pricing and select Arrow to enable it. You may already be familiar with some of the other ways to add products to your quotes, one of which being punch-out sites. And traditionally this was, you can essentially build it out to any e-commerce site, but we worked with Dell through the Premier punch-out site, where you could go onto that e-commerce site directly from within Sell, pull products into your cart, and then bring them into the Sell quote, just as you were working through it. Well, we've added two new options. You can now do the same thing with Amazon and Annixter. So feel free to get into your content integrations punch-out sites and add those two new options. As kind of a caveat, just so you know, it will need to be an Amazon business account that you link this to. We also have a new DocuSign integration with ConnectWise Sell, which is very exciting because it gives you the ability to publish a quote essentially through DocuSign. And what that means is that you can add e-signatures throughout your PDF. So you don't have just the final signature, they can actually sign on the PDF using the DocuSign functionality. Now, this will be very similar to if you've ever signed a lease online, maybe for an apartment, maybe you're signing up for your rent and you have to initial each individual page virtually, or sorry, each individual page with an e-signature. You can do that now through Sell by using this DocuSign integration. And the only requirements is it is only available for Sell Standard and Premium, and you must use a 2022 quote form. It has the functionality possible to insert those signatures wherever you need them. However, you can reach out to our professional services team and they can help you update an existing quote template if you can, or sorry, a quote form if you need to use an older version. One of the newest additions to our business management stack is WiseSync, which we're very excited about. And we have a new WisePay option within our payment integrations. So if you're using payment processing, essentially giving your customers the ability to pay directly from the order porter screen, you can now use WisePay as well. So set this up as an option within your quotes or quote templates, and just keep in mind that you'll need to be using a 2022 quote template or reach out to professional services to have them assist you in updating one of your older templates. And another thing I'd like to bring up is that if you're using a 2022 template and you bring it down, you'll notice you have a CC option and a non-CC option. Well, the CC option just means that if you were to turn on payment processing for this quote and select WisePay, it'll be optional. Your customer can choose whether or not they want to use WisePay. If that 2022 branded template does not have the CC after it, it just means they're required to pay via WisePay before they can sign the quote. We've also added a brand new quote price modifier, which previously you would just, if you were going to set up a price modifier for your items, it would be via the line item or an individual tab. And that could be anything from a markup or a discount. Well, now you can do it for the entire quote. So we can see this as a huge benefit to set up on your quote templates for any services that should be including gross margin requirements, gross margin markup requirements, or discounts across the board. And just so you know, it will not, anything that you set at this quote template level, at the actual quote level, won't override anything that you've set up for individual line items or tabs, but it will apply to all other items on the quote. We've also included the ability to keep more of your customers in the loop when their quotes are being approved. So you may have certain quotes that have different contacts listed as quote to, bill to, ship to, and more. Well, now you can have all of them included in the approval email by using this new checkbox, send approval email to all contacts. By setting this up, you can make sure that they're all aware when their quote has officially been approved. And then not just for your customers, but also for your internal team. Sometimes our inside sales reps get left out on some of the communication on these quotes that they might be very heavily involved in. Well, now you can keep them in the loop by sending customer comments that have been made or submitted through the order porter directly to the inside sales rep as well. And it's just by selecting this checkbox to email the inside sales rep. And that's going to be found within, both of these are actually found within document branding. In this case, it's the order porter setup under advanced settings.
All right, Manage and Sell may be our largest products in our business management suite of products, but they are not alone. We have several others that have been receiving updates throughout the year that I'd like to talk to you about now. First among those is Smileback, one of the newest products to join that business management suite I mentioned. And for those of you not familiar, Smileback is a tool used to gather feedback from your customers quickly and easily, and it's now gotten even easier. Quick question for you all, hypothetical, how much time do you spend each month generating reports for internal stakeholders? If you're anything like me, any time spent doing this is too much time, so we want to cut down on that, and we can make that a little easier with Smileback now. First update we've rolled out is you can now create reports and schedule them to be delivered automatically. No more running around gathering up data month after month to send it out. Go ahead, set your parameters once and schedule it out. It'll now be delivered for you on that recurring schedule so you can give it back to doing more productive things. We've also enhanced our customer satisfaction reviews so you can more easily see what that data looks like from a bird's eye view. You can see your overall net customer satisfaction score, a breakdown of the reviews you've received over that time period, as well as your response rate. The three key metrics you probably care about most when it comes to customer satisfaction. We've also made updates to BrightGauge. Specifically, with BrightGauge Agent version 5, we offer increased performance, security, and ease of use, three things we all want more of. To take advantage of this upgraded agent, go ahead and find your BrightGauge agents themselves, or your data sources, I mean, and you'll see upgrade data source at the bottom. That'll go ahead and bring in Agent 5 so you can start taking advantage of these newer, latest, greatest features. We've also added parentheses for your calculated metrics, giving you more control over those calculations themselves for your gauges. Some of you out there may be thinking, well, I don't have BrightGauge. I don't really care about any of this. Well, if you're using ConnectWise Manage today, you might care about this because we're offering BrightGauge Essentials for free. These are going to be 3 pre-configured dashboards, one for the service technician, giving them a nice detailed look at what their workload is, how they're doing, one for the service managers so they can keep track of their team, and another one for the owner so they can monitor the business as a whole. So if you're using ConnectWise Manage today and you're not using BrightGauge, you could be taking advantage of these dashboards. I'd highly recommend it. I've heard nothing but glowing feedback from our partners on using BrightGauge, so it's definitely worth checking out. Let's take a look at one of those dashboards now. Here we are looking at the owner view. Here I get a very nice breakdown of my service as a whole. I can see how we're doing on our SLAs broken up by priority, how much time we're spending on those different issues, a breakdown of tickets opens versus closed. We want to make sure that our close rate is keeping up with the open rate so my service team doesn't get overloaded. And I can click into these to get more data on any single one of these metrics. For example, if I wanted to see a list of those tickets where we are missing that priority, that SLA, I can click into it and see them all listed out right here. And as I mentioned, if you're not using this now and you would like to, go ahead, take a moment, scan that QR code. That'll walk you through the setup so you can start taking advantage of BrightGauge Essentials. Another product that we have that has been getting updates is IT Boost. And the latest and greatest for IT Boost is standard operating procedures. These are going to be sets of instructions for your team on how they go about processes, resolve issues. Whatever process you want to standardize, you can set up an SOP in IT Boost and give your team the tools they need to succeed. These can be generic to be used across your company, or you can set up customer-specific standard operating procedures, which I've heard can be tricky since every customer likes to have it their way. They always like to be just a little bit special, have it done just a little bit different, and now we can have that documented so your team doesn't have to memorize all those small little differences. These templates can be created manually or imported directly into your system. When you are building these templates, not only are you listing out what needs to be done in what order, but you can also add extra details like how much time should be spent, giving your team tools so they can accurately budget where they spend their time as they go through these tasks. You can also link to other IT Boost assets so your team has everything they need right at their fingertips. They don't have to go hunting around. Ultimately, what we want is for you to be confident in your team's process.
As promised, we couldn't resist inserting in some of our education materials that have been released over the past year. So here's what we have that's new on the university that you should definitely check out. And the first is our release notes matrix page has been completely rewritten, and that's to incorporate a bunch of these new products that we've brought in and make sure that it's really easy for you to find the information that you need to be up to date on the latest and greatest in all of these products. So on this new page, you'll notice a brand new format, and we've broken it down by product pillar. So within business management, you'll find a lot of what we talked about today, but we also have an area for your remote monitoring and management, that unified management pillar, and cybersecurity, and another area where we have things like ConnectWise Home and the customer portal. Now, just so that you're aware, when you get to this screen, we do have legacy versions of the release notes available too. So you'll want to make sure that the UI you're looking at matches this. It'll have these different segments for each individual release that you can expand and sort through and review. You might also be curious as to not what's just recently been released, but what's coming in the future. And that's where our product release roadmap page becomes very beneficial. Not only does our product team work and our product marketing team work to bring up the most exciting enhancements that they're working on, but they'll give you some ideas of the time frame for when this will be released. So you might see something that's very recently been released and it'll list as released. You can see some things that are coming next quarter, next 6 months, or just in the future, something that we're aiming for but we haven't started working on just quite yet. So you can sort these by status, look by product category, and get an idea of sort of where the product's going in the future. On our team, we've been working pretty hard this year to refresh our blueprints. Now, if you aren't already familiar, blueprints are essentially a bird's eye view of a particular process within one of the products. Now, within this process, we kind of recommend some setup steps, a way that you should flow through it. And then we also link, if you click on the items with the eye icon, we link to additional information. Maybe it's a business case, it's likely going to have a how-to video, another piece of documentation that can support this process. But it's all to help you use Manage to the best, in this case, use Manage to the best of your ability to help out your team. Now, this is the new UI that you'll start to see, and that just means that any of the blueprints with this new UI have been recently refreshed. They might have brand new resources, brand new business cases, or a new flow, but we're working to move through all of these and get them all updated and really just make them reflect our recommended practices right now. We also have a brand new partner kit. So project management has been added to our list of partner kits. Partner kits are a great one-stop resource for a particular process, but a little bit more in-depth. A lot of them will include a blueprint, for example, but within a partner kit, you'll find maybe additional resources that you can send out to your customers, webinars, linked documentation, blueprints, a lot of lessons even, a lot of information that can help you kick this off. So if you have a project manager or if you're looking to start using projects, this is the best place to start to make sure that you can successfully implement them. We also released paths to product proficiency over the last few years. And the most recent one, we already released sales and service paths to product proficiency, but now we have one for finance and operations roles. Now within all of these essentially business units at your organization, we broke it down into the specific roles that we assume your team members will have. And when they select their role, it'll take them through business cases for using the products. It'll include manage, sell, and automate just based on where it's appropriate. And throughout those, they can read about the business cases and it'll link them to additional education materials that they can reference if they need more support in learning how to use that particular function. So it is all based on their role and what we believe they'll need to do on a day-to-day to help make your business successful. And then last but not least, we're really excited. Our certification programs for Manage and for Automate became on demand within the past couple of years, and that was a really exciting effort so that you can take them at your own pace and get certified. And we have just released a brand new certification for Sell. So this is available on the university now on demand, so you can take it at your own pace and become certified. So now we'll just open it up to questions, and a couple have already come in that I know one at least for Manage stood out to me, the round robin ticket assignment. Currently, the way that round robin works is your team members need to be using the in and out board to tell Manage when they're available to be assigned tickets. But I would just say, keep an eye on the Manage release notes because we do have a lot of enhancements coming for that particular feature. So there's been some word of it using member calendars. So I'd just recommend keep an eye on those release notes and get excited for what's to come for round robin.
We also had a question come in about BrightGauge. It is BrightGauge free now, or is it only free for a limited time with Manage? So to elaborate, BrightGauge Essentials is free. If you have Manage, you get Essentials as part of your Manage subscription. And Essentials includes those standard dashboards, which you can then view, filter, and send. Creating and editing custom dashboards is going to be sold with the higher tier license of BrightGauge, either standard or enterprise. But the Essentials, which the standard dashboard we built out for you, one of which I showed off today, that is absolutely free with your Manage license. Next question, when will we see the update for the calendar sync per member on hosted Manage instances? I believe if your hosted Manage instance is up to date. If you're talking about hosted on the cloud, it'll be there now. If you're talking about hosted on your server, then it will be once you install the latest patches. So those have been released. They should be available to all partners now. So if you are up to date, you should see the ability to set that sync per member. One thing to keep in mind, you do need to be set up using the Microsoft 365 calendar sync.
And as an additional note there, if you're referring to specifically the directional sync, it is currently in a technical preview status, so it does have a managed lab associated that you need to turn on. So I would highly recommend for any of these enhancements that you're really excited to use, check out the release notes because we'll always include any setup that's necessary. We'll link to documentation and that we can make sure that your team is able to use it. But yeah, the first thing to check would just be make sure that you're on the most recent patches and then see if your managed lab needs to be enabled. I might need to do a little more research on one of these questions related to payment processors and regions. I've been looking for some information on that, but I'm not coming up with anything yet. So I might just take your name down and then reach back out.
Other than that one, I don't think I'm seeing any more questions. So if you have a burning question, don't hold back. Now's your chance.
Oh, I just saw a question come in about getting more information about BrightGauge Essentials. Let me see, I might go back and pull up that QR code.
I got this one. I'm going to send out a link to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mitch.
Is BrightGauge integration free? The Essentials, which I'm about to send you a link to, all the questions you may have, all the frequently asked questions there. You guys should all have access to that now. I replied to someone's question to everyone, so if you check out that questions pod, you should all have a link. That Essentials is absolutely free.
Oh, and another question came in about the directional sync and the directional sync with Microsoft 365, and that is related to activities because anything that's created as an event in an Outlook will become an activity in Manage, with the exception being that new change where you can create a meeting and then insert the ticket number. So it does work with activities because that's kind of the bread and butter of that integration to begin with. Okay, it looks like that might be all of the questions that we have. So we did want to close out with a quick reminder that IT Nation Connect is coming up soon. It's in just a couple weeks now, and it's a great place to go if you're looking for thought leadership, if you want to hear about future plans for the products, or really just interact with other partners or our team. So there's still plenty of time to sign up, and we really hope to see you there. But with that, thank you all so much for joining, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.